voice of truth in the building with his first audio story of justice and injustice. Brace yourselves. Story of the Carpenter out for justice, narrated by the voice of truth. Me? I'm just a simple carpenter. I work hard and I provide for my family. That's my main goal. I was working for this agency, for a company called in the West End. Just doing some refurb, putting on doors, basically second fix carpentry really. Everything was fine until this new guy came in. He saw me getting my tools ready and not working on the door because I needed the wall to be built first. He looked over, then turned his head and went to some other workers doing some kitchen units. And this new boss, who practically just stepped on the site, ripped into them saying, "What the hell is this? What have you done? You butchered it. If I wanted butchers, I would have went to Sainsbury's. I ordered carpenters, not butchers. Do that shit right." And these workers, who were practically new in the country, who could barely speak English, were constantly being torn to shreds. He ripped into them. And I was thinking to myself, this guy's gonna be a problem because he's acting like the typical arrogant ass wipes on these sites. So I said to myself, let me stay clear of this dude. It's now 11 o'clock and these guys still haven't finished the wall. I'm still waiting. I see this old man struggling with some deliveries. I go outside and help him to bring in the deliveries. Finally now, the wall is finished and I get straight to work. I hang the first door and put on the locks. Now it's time for lunch break. I take my lunch break. As I'm on my lunch break, the manager looks over and walks off. Didn't approach me, just looked and walked off. Seconds later, I get a phone call from the agency. "Hey, what have you done since this morning? What's all this complaints? No, you need to be doing that, you need to be doing this. No, take your stuff and go." Hangs up the phone. So basically, in layman terms, this agency had fired me apparently for not doing any work since the morning. Come to find out, this big bossman here had tipped him off and said this guy is doing nothing but sitting on his ass. So basically I got fired without being able to explain why I did that amount of work. When in actual fact I only had 2 more doors to do, which would have been done, plus I helped with the deliveries. And turns out the old man I helped was the manager's dad, who was struggling with the deliveries. So I helped his dad and I got fired. So I was like, okay, cool. If you think this is over like this, you got another thing coming. At least let me talk to this guy and see what's up. So I waited for this manager, this big boss man. He was trying to avoid me walking around with the health and safety people, but I kept waiting and he saw me. So when he was free, I walked up to him and said, "Hey, can I have a word with you?" He's like, yeah, come on. This guy, probably around, 220? Big gut, kind of like a Phil Mitchell type of dude, one of those big pop guys, thinking he's tough and shit. So I said to him, "I just got fired. Apparently I'd done no work today." And this guy responded with, "Well, let's be honest, mate, what have you done today?" And I'm like, "Excuse me, I actually put up the door, I put on the locks, and I helped with some deliveries, and I couldn't have done much more because they hadn't finished the wall yet. That is second fix carpentry. You need things to be done first before you can do your part. How can you put up a door with no door frame or no wall?" He responds, "Well, that's not my business. Get out of my way." And this guy proceeded to barge me out the way with his gut. The whole world turned black. I blacked out. I grabbed that man by the throat and hurled him firmly into the ground. Basically, a choke slam without the lift. With my hand firmly around his neck and my knee in his gut, I said, "Don't you ever put your hands on me again. How dare you touch me? Are you out of your mind? I will beat the brakes off you." And the entire work site stopped. Tools stopped, workers stopped. You could hear a pin drop. They turn around and see this carpenter on top of this big gut goofball who thought he was a boss, thought he was hard. Now, I release him and stand up to see if this guy is about this shit. Because you don't do that to someone then turn your back. You get off them and you get into your stance and see what's up. This guy stood up fumbling and immediately went into his pocket, pulled out his phone and tried to call the agency. But this guy was dropping the phone because he was shitting his pants. Probably never had anything like that done to him in his life. Nervously, he finally calls the agency. Agency immediately calls me back. "Hey, what's going on? I thought I told you to leave. Don't worry about it. We'll hook you up on the next site, but just leave the site now." I'm like, "Listen, you go blow yourself. First of all, you fired me without giving me a chance to explain. Just because he's your client doesn't mean the client is always right. Why would I even want to work for you again? Get lost." Hung up the phone. I now look at this boss who's a nervous wreck, and I said, "So how are you going to explain taking food out of my family's mouth?" And he's like, "Well, I tried to have it fixed, but you didn't want it. You don't want the job. Now it's your fault." And then he walks off to the building. Other workers come up to me and say, no, you better leave before they call the police." And I said to them, call the police or what? What are you on about? This guy barged me with his gut. Then I handled business. He started it and I finished it. So you can't call no police. Then I thought to myself, you know what? I don't need this shit. Screw this. Let me get my tools and get out of here. After packing up my tools, I realized I had a couple tools left in the building. Now walk into the building. This boss man who is inside sees me and thinks I'm coming to whoop his ass, and this guy makes a beeline for the storage room. This guy runs into the storage room, locks the door and calls the security. I turn around and look at all the workers and say, "Are you seeing this? Weren't this the same guy popping off about butchers and Sainsbury's and all this shit? And now look at him, locked up in a room, shitting himself like a bitch. Huh? What happened?" Within seconds, security opened the door and are on my trail. And the security sees me and says, "Oh no, say it's not you." And the reason he said that was because I was the only one who said hi to him in the morning. The only one who gave him some form of respect. I don't know if you know about these work sites, but it's basically, you must know, it's kind of like Gordon Ramsay type of environment where you get some arrogant asswipe, much like Gordon Ramsay, hurling insults at you and talking down to you and shouting to you. Hardly any respect. They don't treat a man like a man. They try to talk down to you because they're in a higher position. But I was not having it, and I gave respect to everyone. And this is why the security who came to get me out respected me and was disappointed. So I said to him, "Don't worry, I won't cause any trouble. Let me just say what I have to say and leave." I then walked over to the storage room door so this guy could clearly hear me. And I turned to the workers and say, "The next time you see this guy shouting at you, talking down to you and doing all sorts of crap and pretending he's a big shot, remember him now in this storage room hiding like a bitch." Took my tools and walked off. As I'm walking to the exit, the security guard looks at me and said, "Oh damn, man, you sure showed him, man. That was crazy." We reach to the exit. I turn and look at him and say, "It had to be done. If you're a man and you let another man disrespect you, talk down to you, play with your money, and don't do anything, how can you then go home to your family and sit at the head of your table and call yourself a man?" goodbye, shook his hand, and walked off.